Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to Main Character Syndrome. Before we dive back into the world of Navarre and the Empyrean series, I have a slight disclaimer. You may not know, but we do work full-time jobs, and so we batch record these episodes. What that means is we record multiple episodes in one sitting, and sometimes that puts us at the risk of technical difficulties. Unfortunately, the audio in these next few episodes is not as crisp and clear as it was in previous episodes, but bear with us, it's still great content. We still have a lot of fangirling about the world of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and we hope you'll still join us even with the audio issues. Thank you so much for bearing with us, and we promise we will fix these issues in the future. To the readers who listen, enjoy the episode. Hey readers, welcome back to Main Character Syndrome. I'm your host, the Redhead, with Danielle again. Hey Danielle.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Excited to be back. Talk about part 2.
Yes, part 2 of Iron Flame. If you have not read Iron Flame, this is a spoiler alert.
Major spoilers.
Major spoiler alert. Cannot emphasize that enough. Go read the book and then come back and listen to our podcast.
You're about to be spoiled with the most insane moment we learn about Xaden.
Yes, Xaden, General Sorrengail, all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Let's begin. So part 2 starts off with Besgaiath at Eratia. The cadets, the dragons, everybody is now at Eratia, and the assembly is like, what do we do with all of these kids?
Yeah, you brought untrained people here.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna
What do we do with them? And so they kind of decide to have their own Besgaiath. Mira finds out Brennan is alive as she gets to Eratia, and as we said in the last podcast, she just punches him right in the face.
Punches him in the face. He deserved it.
He deserved it. I mean, he led her and his entire family to believe that he was dead for 6 years. So, I mean,
it was good to start off with that.
Does that warrant a punch in the face? I think so.
Yeah.
The journals that Violet stole in part 1, with the help of her squad, she's basically trying to translate them, and then she's translating them with Dane, of all people.
Yeah, she tries to do it by herself at first, and then she's like, him and I used to speak this together, to have our own like language that no one else could understand. So that was like a sweet moment back into their past. And it was a good moment to be like, okay, I need help. And so she calls him back, and he's like, well, actually, it's this. But he doesn't say it in like the Dane, I know everything kind of way.
Yeah.
Like, he's really like understanding, and he's like come into that submissive role, I feel like, instead of trying to take the lead of everything.
He's got some character growth in part 2 for sure, and even Violet's like, stabbing Varish gives him some grace, right? You know? He gets some brownie points. He's got a little bit of a ways to go, but he's off to a good start. And Darna is awake. She is this big, moody teenager that I absolutely love. And like most of the quotes that we get from her, like one of my favorites.
Yeah. She's so sassy.
Yeah.
And I love, like, the fun banter between her and Tan. And kind of the snapback clap at him all the time. Makes me laugh.
Yeah. We do not eat our allies. That's one of my favorites. Okay. The only thing about Andarna is because she did not complete the Dreamless Sleep, her wing cannot fully extend, so she can't fly or barrel ride her. So I feel like this is kind of symbolic to Violet and how, she may be breakable, she may be small, but she's a formidable opponent. So I'm wondering if they're saying this about Andarna, but is Andarna going to be like Violet and kind of rise to the occasion?
Yeah, and there's a lot of foreshadowing in this situation, and a lot of comparisons that you can draw from both of them together. Like, you really see that was the bond that was supposed to happen. So like Violet and Andarna, they were the good match. I mean, not that she isn't with Tan, she is by far, but Andarna was like, okay, this is my year, I gotta go to threshing because this is my girl, this is who I am in a human form.
And we find out she's waited 650 years to bond Violet specifically.
Yes. And then at the very end, Violet's like, well, how would you even know that I was going to go from the scribe quadrant to the writer quadrant? And she's kind of like, yeah, I knew.
She knew. She tried to tell Violet a few things that we'll kind of get into, but she's not like other dragons.
And Brennan, I also want to say, at the very beginning of the book, kind of closer to the beginning, I guess, he says something along the lines of, we're trying to figure out what killed off all of the venom 600 years ago. So I think there's a good correlation that's probably going to be made in future books. This is just my prediction, between Andarna and killing off the venom. I think she's the answer. And so looking forward to seeing how that plays out, but I don't think it's a coincidence where he says that line 600 years ago, something killed off the venom, and she has been waiting 650 years.
Exactly. I agree. I saw that and I was like, Andarna is going to be a pivotal role in the defeat of the venom. That is very interesting to think about. Okay. We go into Violet and Xaden's relationship. Seems like okay, but again, Violet was in peril and they both said the things that they needed to say, but the relationship is still not quite repaired in the way that they both didn't get what they needed, which is full disclosure and full trust.
Yeah.
So they're at this impasse again. And it's just like, oh my gosh, guys, stop fighting over the same thing.
But she said, she was like, maybe we fight over the same thing because we never get the chance to talk about it. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's always something in the way, something happens that they can never come to a full resolution. Like, there's never the time for it.
Right. And that's like with any relationship too. If you don't have the time, or in this case, they never got to see each other, so they never really got to solve anything. So now that they're together, they're constantly at each other's throats about this truth thing, and they're finally working it out.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite parts in part 2, it eventually turns into kind of a spicy scene, but Xaden is like, you're alive. And I think that's what Violet needs to hear, because both times now she's arrived at Erasia basically dead.
Yeah.
On her deathbed.
Good point. I didn't think about
this poor girl. She's like, I'm alive.
Like, every time I come here, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, Erasia, what a great place.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of get into Violet goes to meet Takaris and wants to see, like, what he wants for the Luminary. And Xaden says, no. And this is, again, where they fight. And Violet goes behind his back and goes anyways. And then Xaden's there and is like, gotcha. Like, I knew you were going to do this. And you shouldn't have thought that Taryn wouldn't tell Sigale. And Taryn's like, well, I didn't promise that she couldn't sense me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Taryn.
Dan, you're funny, old man.
But while they're there, Violet finds out that Xaden and Kat were betrothed. He has a room and didn't tell Violet any of this.
Oh, hello, insecurities.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, whoa. Yeah, you find that out, and just putting myself in her shoes, I would be like, yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, one, you were betrothed to someone. Wish I knew that.
She wasn't just your ex.
Yeah, and then now I have to be in a room with her in this moment, and it obviously extends into a lot more. I could not imagine being connected in some way with any of my husband's exes.
No, especially when, like, he's got a room and everybody knows, he knows, like, his way around. It's like, you could have prepared your girl for this. Like,
yeah, I would be so mad at a partner, my husband, if we like went somewhere where he knew that we were gonna run into this person and he didn't warn me. Yeah. And it was just like, hey, I'm so and so.
And the fact that she's like, you were engaged, and he's like, it was betrothal. It was it wasn't an engagement, it was a betrothal. And it's like, that's the same freaking thing.
Actually, it is different.
Is it?
It is different. I can't explain it perfectly, but I have heard and like understood that there is a difference, and it goes back to like BC.
Yeah.
A lot of, so there is a difference, and so I totally got that part, but you're like, yeah.
He still could have told her.
Could have told her.
Still could have told her. Still could have prepared her for it.
Yeah. Have you ever had an experience where you are with someone and then had to meet any of their exes?
No.
No?
Never.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, do tell.
It was with my husband now, and we just went to one of their mutual friends' parties, and yeah, he was just like, hey, this is my wife now, and Danielle, this is so-and-so, who I had heard of her before, and been pretty open about our past and stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like weird in that sense, but I was also prepared. But I was glad I was prepared because it was already like, it's like a little awkward still.
Yeah.
But I was like in that mindset, so I couldn't imagine being not in that mindset. I'd be like, what? Say that again?
Yeah, exactly. Well, in part 1, she meets Kat. She sees that there's like something there.
Weird thing.
And she asks him, that's your ex, isn't it? Like, for fear of, well, without like jumping to conclusions, like last year, she's your ex, isn't she? And he's like, how did you, never mind, that it's not important. Yes, she is. But he could have went into a little bit more detail.
A little more detail, and yeah, just prepared, being like, oh yeah, well, you may run into her again in the future.
Yeah.
Because this is who she is.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, by the way, I have a room at, their house.
Well, and when they were talking about the luminary and what Takaris wanted Violet to do, he could have said the first deal that fell through was the betrothal with me and Kat.
Yeah.
But he didn't. So, like, that's where I'm like, my boy, it's really hard to take your side when you constantly drop the ball with this communication thing. Well, and even in part 1, when he's talking with Violet and he's like, we need to work on your communication skills. And Violet's like, that's coming from you? That's funny. Oh, man. Oh, Xaden.
It's a funny love triangle that goes on for a while.
It is. It gets even better.
The part where Kat knocks on the door in the silk see-through robe, I was like, girl, you are ballsy.
You are asking for it. I mean, you are like, this girl that you're doing this to can wield lightning.
I would punch her in the face.
I would have
like if I was Violet, I would not have kept my cool. I would like, well, you're gonna die now.
Yeah. You're electrocuted. Like there's no way you're standing.
I would have lost it, but I laughed so hard at that. She was like, I sleep in Xaden's room.
Yeah, she knows exactly where this is. It's like, what? Yeah, she should have told Xaden, because when Xaden finds out later, he's like, wait, what? What? But I think Xaden would have had words with Kat had he known. But with the whole Takaris thing, Xaden was right. His intentions weren't entirely pure. He wanted Violet to basically kill this venom that he had in a box.
Or, he wanted her to kill it, but did he also have the intention of killing her?
Who knows?
Because of the betrothal?
Could be.
Going sour?
Very much could be. You never know. And then he wanted to see her wield lightning, but he wanted to see her wield lightning while venom was in this, arena. And then Brennan and Mira are there with her. And this is where we see Mira ward for the first time by herself. Right there. And that is a foreshadowing, in my opinion, for a potential second signet for Violet.
I agree. And to kind of go off that, we are introduced to the ability to suppress signets. Is it Garrick? Garrick signet, I believe, is the ability to suppress signets. It's either Gary or Bodhi. I can't remember which one, but we're introduced to that in this book, and you're like, oh, that's a possibility. So if you can suppress a signet, you should probably be able to enhance one.
Yeah, you should be able to enhance one. So that is a theory that we'll kind of get into in a little bit. But after the whole thing with Takaris, Xaden basically threatens his life and is like, how dare you do that to my Violet? And then they come to an agreement where Flyers and Riders go to Erasia. The Riders take in the Flyers and they have to train together. And it's really interesting to see how the teaching is with the Griffin Flyers and the Dragon Riders, because the Riders are ruthless. They cross the parapet, and if they don't cross the parapet, they die. In threshing, if they don't get on a dragon and their dragon drops them, they die. And with the Flyers, all they have to do is jump off a cliff with water at the bottom.
Yeah.
And if they get a Griffin, cool. If not, they don't die. They just go again next year.
Yeah, or they join a different kind of group.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you see, like, the complete opposite, and
Yeah.
like, I think the Griffins have it right.
Yeah.
Like, the Griffin Riders have it right.
With Basgaiath, it's fly or die, and with the Griffin Riders, it's, oh, try again next time.
Yeah, way more sympathetic, and it's more logical. Like, yeah, there's not really a lot of us, so we should probably keep the ones that we have.
Yeah.
And not kill them off.
Well, and Sawyer, maybe he didn't bond a dragon his first year, but his second year he did. He had an extra year to train, to get better. And maybe that's just what people need sometimes. They're not going to be amazing, strong people right away. So, I mean, yes, you're killing off the weak, but, like, those people don't have the potential to develop those skills.
You have to start somewhere.
You do have to start
somewhere.
somewhere.
No one is a complete beast right out the womb.
Yeah. Well, and that goes into part 1 where Violet's talking with Rhiannon, and Violet, I understand this to a point where Violet's like, you know, I'm glad that we get to see our friends die here, because in combat, you don't get that time to grieve. So I understand the teachings of Basgaiath, but I think they need to take into account some of the teachings from the Flyers, and I really think that they could build, like, the correct institution to create these warriors.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Riders, or the Flyers, I should say, are very emotional when they die. Which I think is a great personal quality to have. Like, in a sense, as a warrior, it does make it difficult. But also, the empathy is really important.
Yeah. Empathy is huge, and I think the Flyers definitely have that over Basgaiath, and the Riders at Basgaiath.
Yeah.
So, there's some room for improvement.
Yeah.
Cat versus Violet. I really hope that they become friends in the 3rd book. Honestly, I think they would be really good friends if they can just get past this Xaden hill.
Past we've slept with the same guy thing.
Yeah. But they both have, like, these, like, spicy attitudes, and they give great one-off, like, insults. Cat on the mat with Violet when Basgaiath versus the Flyers are like, okay, just work your stuff out.
Okay, that's a good point. Punching each other in the face to get over your problems.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Maybe. I don't know. I've never tried it.
I've said it a bunch of times that when I have beef with someone, it'd just be really nice if we could punch each other in the face.
Yeah.
And then I'd feel good about it. Like, men do that sometimes.
Men do that sometimes. Girls have, you know, kind of cat fights. And it's like,
catty.
what if we could just punch each other in the face and get over it?
Yeah. Alyssa, I'm mad at you. Just
punch me in the throat. It's fine.
A little karate chop. Ow.
I'll get the point. But I feel like Violet, this is where, like, the insecurities, the anger, and just the inferiority comes in, where, you know, Cat can heighten emotions, yes, but that stuff is there initially because Cat's better than her at making runes. She had Xaden at one point, and she knows Xaden and his things that he's done, and she's taught him some things, which I was like, Cat!
Yeah, when she's like,
oh,
you know, that
savage!
thing, the fingers, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, she's like, I taught him that, and Violet just sees red.
Oh my, I would too.
I would too, okay. To be honest, like, if I was told that in a fight from my significant other's ex, I would be seeing red, and I would probably punch her in the face.
I mean, Violet almost killed her.
Yeah.
And I would have finished the job.
I would too. I mean, Cat had it coming, though. Like, if she is using her magic on the mat where she's not supposed to,
she's hiding her emotions.
She knows that Violet is going to come at her and kill her.
Yeah, I'm like, what did you expect?
What did you expect? And so I think this is kind of an interesting thing, but Cat also blames Violet for her friend's death on the cliff as well. And so I can see Cat's emotions and how she feels like Violet stole something from her that was rightfully hers, which was the betrothal. And
the rider.
The
Flyer.
The flyer, that was her friend, and then Xaden and the power that comes with him. But, oh, she's savage.
She is.
She's a savage.
It's funny, you love to hate her.
Yeah, she's a character I love to hate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Xaden does this the right way with the throne scene, where, you know, he could have just been like, Kat's stupid, like, I love you, you don't have to worry about her. But the throne scene kind of just solidifies that to him, Violet is superior. Violet has nothing to worry about with Kat. She is not inferior to her. And he basically worships her on his own throne, which was kind of the hottest thing ever.
It was pretty hot.
It was pretty hot.
Say, so read the book through twice, and the first time with the audiobook, I fast forwarded through it. I was like, oh,
it's because the audiobook is cringy when you hear it out loud. When you read it on a page, it's so different.
It is. But then I listened to the audiobook again the second time, and I was like, okay, this is a really important scene. I just need to listen to it. And I was like, hot damn. Whoa. Yeah, that's love.
Like, is this maybe on the bucket list at some point? I don't know.
Yikes. Is it hot in here?
Is it hot in here? Is it just me? I think I'm blushing, but no, I loved it. Despite like all the spiciness, which I was kind of here for, just because the way that Xaden was doing it, and the reason he was doing it was because he was trying to prove something to Violet, and he was like, I can love you and I can worship you without getting anything in return, because it's not about your body for me in this relationship.
Yeah.
Which is what Kat led her to believe.
It was really powerful. Just a lot of symbolism there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just, you know, what's the word?
My chair, or my house, my chair, my woman.
Yeah.
And it's not just a chair, it's a throne.
His throne.
His throne. He's casually the king of Tyrrendor.
It was him giving a part of himself to her.
Yeah.
Without it being gross and like sexual. And
yeah. It was kind of beautiful in a way. Like, yes, it was hot, but it was also just like this beautiful symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
So Rebecca Yarros, not only does she have the talent for some spicy scenes, but she also has a talent for really romantic, like, symbolic scenes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a lot to take in. And then we get into this part where they encounter Solus, and Darna comes in and saves the day and kills Solus,
mm-hmm.
and is kind of just becomes this dragon slayer.
Yeah, and Tan says that leaves a mark on a dragon's
Yeah, because
soul.
you don't want to kill your kin.
Mm-hmm.
But Solus was coming after her rider.
Yeah.
What else do you do in that situation? I'm sure Taryn would have done the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He almost did with Varish.
Mm-hmm.
He almost killed Solus.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But she has like this big growth. Like she's really coming out of her shell.
Mm-hmm.
She is
violent,
like Violet.
And also, I have something to say when we get into what kind of dragon she is.
Okay.
So, Battle of Besgaiath. Let's talk about... So, General Melgren can see the outcome of a battle with the marked ones when there's not 3 or more marked ones. So, if there's 3 or more marked ones, he can't see anything. But if there's less than that, he can see the outcome of the battle. So, the battle that he sees at this outpost that they're at is they lose. But Violet realizes that's because the marked ones weren't there. And the battle is actually at Besgaiath. And that's where we find Jack at the Wardstone with Bade, and he's controlling it.
Yeah.
This is where I also had another theory with Varish being Venin.
Because he says... Yep.
You let your dragons control you, but he kind of controls his own dragon.
Yeah, that was another piece of proof without saying that he's Venin, that he is Venin. He doesn't let his dragon control him. And red eyes and just the all-around nasty demeanor.
Oh yes, maybe. Okay, so this is where Violet's coming back and Kaori's like, well, you can hardly expect a second year to shield out the overpowering emotions of her dragon. Maybe you struggle, Varish snips. Some of us do not bow to the whims of our dragons. In fact, we influence them.
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was like, okay, my gears in my head were turning, and I was like, why would you write that, Rebecca?
He's Venom.
Is Varys Venom?
He controls his dragon,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the one that controlled his dragon to kill the riders.
Yeah. Was he influencing Solis's decisions?
For sure.
Interesting.
And then he died, but Solis, wants to avenge his death because he's still kind of run by him, even though he's dead.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah, and Varys, not only did Dane stab him with the alloy dagger, but Violet stabbed him in the heart.
Yeah, he's definitely dead.
With the alloy dagger. So I think because he was stabbed in the heart with the alloy dagger, he was Venom, and that's how they killed him. Because they could have stabbed him with anything if he was human.
Yeah.
But it was specifically the alloy dagger.
Alloy dagger.
And that, with that passage, just kind of was like, okay, was Varys Venom?
Yeah. The proof is all there without saying it.
I think we'll see something like that.
Oh, I have another quote actually that proves that too. And it is when he kind of is questioning Violet about the attack from the Venom. So Violet references Varys acting as if he knew what she could do with her lightning wielding, like she did when she killed the Venom for the first time in, where was it?
Ressin?
Ressin?
Yeah.
When she killed him in Ressin. So she references him acting like he knew what she could do through that. Like he saw her. So, was he there?
Was he?
No.
That's
yeah,
something to think about. I feel like there are so many things coming in book 3, and we can talk about that in the next episode where we talk about more of the clues that we completely missed reading it the first time. But, so we have Jack is influencing his dragon, and he kills his dragon to basically kill the Wardstone, making Bisguyeth defenseless. But where they're like, okay, Jack is going to be dead in a little bit, let's get all the information that we can out of him. He stays alive. Which is interesting because we all know, case in point with Liam, if your dragon dies, you die.
And he stays alive.
But because he's Venom, he stays alive. So I want to see a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, I think it's just that they're not connected to them.
But he can still influence them. That's the thing. So I want to see
what kind of control they have over dragons and people.
That's where I'm like, if Taryn had killed Solis when he was like, and Darna does not answer to you during flight maneuvers, would Varys have died, or would he have stayed alive because he's Venom?
We'll never know.
Goes back to that theory. Anyways, we find out Jack is Venom and Besguyeth is defenseless, and then there's this big battle of Besguyeth, and Xaden and Violet switch roles once again. Xaden is holding off the Venom, and he's the one fighting for everybody's life. And Violet is the one who's not fighting and kind of... they both fought at Bresson, but I feel like they switch roles because Xaden's trying to protect Violet. Last time, Violet was trying to protect Xaden. And Violet is in the wards and trying to figure out how to create the Wardstone again. And
imbue it,
and Brennan needs to mend it and everything else. Oh, this scene made me bawl like a baby when General Sorrengail is kind of like, Sloane, I killed your family. I killed your mother. I'm the one who did this. I need you to do this for me. Like, trying to make Sloane hate her enough to want to siphon her powers, imbue the stone, and kill her.
Yeah.
And she does. But Sloane, I'll give Sloane credit. Even though that happened, like, Sloane was just like, no, I don't want to. But eventually, I think Sloane realizes, not out of, like, anger, but out of necessity,
like,
that
this
needs
is the
to
only
happen.
way. This is the only way, and we have someone who's right here willing.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't die, then we're all going to die.
Yeah.
I sobbed as someone who's lost her mother.
Yes.
The scene was so hard for me. It was such a good send-off for General Sorrengail, and it was like everything came full circle. she didn't completely redeem herself. I mean, she's done some bad things, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was a good send-off for her. I sobbed, and it was like, yeah, she did all of this to protect her children.
Yeah.
Was she really a terrible mother? She had all of these secrets, and it kind of goes back to all of these secrets that everyone keeps. She had all the secrets, and, you know, they were to save her family and her children.
Was she a terrible mother? No. I think, you know, she did what any mom would want to do. She wanted to protect her children. Maybe she did it in a roundabout way, but she still kept them safe. She sacrificed herself to protect her children. She only wanted what was best for them. Understandable. Was she the best human? No.
Correct.
So, I mean, yeah, she kept her children alive, except Brennan. But then her reaction when Brennan is alive is heartbreaking because Brennan wants nothing to do with this woman.
Yeah.
But then when General Sorrengail sacrifices herself, he's kind of full circle like, oh my God, she's dead.
Yeah.
Like,
Mom? Everything's kind of revealed. And it's like, I've done all of this to save you guys. I do love you. And I've loved you so much that I've kept this secret. And so much so that, you know, I made a deal for Violet, and it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then Mira running in after she's already dead, she doesn't get to say goodbye to her mother.
Yeah, and Brennan, and where it comes out is like, it's not General Sorrengail anymore, it's Mom. Mom? Like, don't do this, Mom. Like, oh, it was so sad, especially when Violet was like fully prepared to sacrifice herself. I was like, oh no, she's gonna do something or Xanen's gonna do something, because Xanen's obviously feeling that she's going to die.
Yeah.
And if Violet can see that Xanen is dying, then Xanen can see that she's on the brink of burnout. And her mother sees Violet and sacrifices herself, and that is such a wholesome moment too, where it goes back to being a mother. I'm not a mother, but I imagine being a mother would be like, I'm not going to see my child die before I do.
Yeah.
And so she takes her place. But when she was saying that, like, Xaden was dying, he was losing, and I was just like, no, God, please, no, Rebecca, don't do this to us. Do not take our shadow daddy away from us. And then, unfortunately, during the Battle of Bisgayeth, we have poor Sawyer loses his leg to a wyvern.
And they said earlier on the book that if you can't fly, you can't be in leadership or whatnot, but you can't be a flyer. Like, how is he going to fly? But I think he's going to have a good comeback.
You think?
I think so. I mean...
Do they have prosthetic legs at Bisgayeth?
I think they're going to make them.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be another great storyline, is him overcoming that to still be an incredible writer.
Rebecca Yarros is really good at overcoming disabilities in her writing with Fourth Wing. You know, Violet overcame her disability. And anyone who was weaker, Sloane was weak, shouldn't have a disability, but, you know, she gradually got better. So I'm really hoping that this isn't Sawyer's, I mean, it's a weakness, but I'm hoping he turns it into, like, kind of a strength.
And Andarna. So there's just all of these people. There's so much symbolism for, you know, the...
I may be tiny, but I'm mighty.
Broken, tiny, mighty, you know, coming back.
Yeah, comebacks. That's a huge part about this series, and I'm really looking forward to all of the comebacks. So the Ward Stone is repaired thanks to General Sorrengail, and it's imbued and it's ready to basically be lit. And we find out that the Empyrean Elder, as we found out through the book, the Empyrean Elder is the only one who knows all of, like, what the dragons are doing, what kind of species are. And Violet figures out that Coda, who is bigger than Tarn, as General Melgren's dragon, knows that Andarna is this other species of dragon. So
she's like the epiphany, and she's like,
yes,
holy cow, like, I don't want to put this out there. She puts all of her shields up because she's like, I can't let this be out there until I confirm this.
Yes.
And then she's like, I've got balls today.
Yeah, I gotta talk to you, big dragon.
Coda, biggest dragon. there.
We have some words that we need to discuss.
And everyone's like, do you want to die?
Do you have a death wish?
And that was a big moment. I was mind blown. She was like, you know what she is, you know, so will you be the black dragon?
Yeah. Will you be the black dragon that does the fire while she is the seventh breed?
One. She is the one.
And this is where she's like, I have waited 650 years to bond with you specifically. I have told you, I'm not like any other dragon. And Violet's like, I didn't listen to you.
Listen.
But
like
Andarna's been saying this the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Like Mira, when Violet told her the first time about Wyvern.
Yes.
And Mira had a moment, she's like, I'm so sorry. Like, you tried to tell me and I didn't believe you. And then Andarna has that moment where she's like, I told you I wasn't like the rest. And you didn't believe me.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't understand me.
Yeah.
And if you couldn't figure it out on your own, you didn't deserve me, basically.
Well, and I'm wondering, like, the 650 years ago, with what killed the Venin, if it was, if not Andarna's ancestors, because she had to have come from a den.
Yeah, she was, you know, a baby. She was a hatchling.
Yeah.
Feathertail. So she hatched, I think, specifically, obviously, for Violet.
Right.
And so I think somewhere it may have said that there's only one purple dragon at a time. I think that's why it's called the 6 and the 1.
Yes.
So I think there's only one purple dragon at a time, which is why there's 2 ward stones, and the second one was never put up.
That's what I love about this series, is that it's just constantly making you think. You know, you got dragon lore, politics, you got world building, magic, you got romance. It's just like such a great series for those who just love to escape. And also, you know, think and put their detective hats on and be like, okay, what's gonna happen next?
That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
That's why I love, like, murder mysteries and whodunit. Like, that's why those are my favorite series. But I think that's why I've also loved this book, because I've been able to really think, like, where's it going to go next? What does this mean? And kind of put all of those puzzle pieces together. So it's still been like a mystery.
Yeah.
But a little bit of romance in there.
I'm here for the romance. Rebecca Yarros added romance into this so beautifully. I love all of it.
But Andarna's a purple dragon.
Yeah.
And there were so many signs.
There were so many signs. Even in the beginning where she's like, her dragon scales are black, but there's almost like this purple shimmer to it.
And then she's like, oh, like, they look kind of this bluish color. She's giving off this tint, this hue. So there's a lot of references throughout the entire book about her scales that you often maybe overlook, that I overlooked.
I overlooked my first read through because I was just reading for the story to see what happened. And then my second and my third and my fourth, I was reading through and like, oh, I was catching this and I was catching this and I was catching this. And I was like, it was right in front of me the whole time.
Yeah. And so was something else.
Yeah. Oh, Xaden. Let's talk about him.
Yeah. So many signs and foreshadowing.
So many. So before the Battle of Besgaiath, we find out that Xaden is an Intrinsic.
Who are supposed to be killed